Sam Puppy, and this is our first live stream. We apologize for being a couple minutes late, but like I said, first live stream. Getting the monkey off our back.
Yeah, I mean all the cool kids are doing it, so why not us?
They are, and hey, I as much as I am the face and the voice of the mini weekend, you need to give credit when credit is due, and this man right here has been advocating for me to do the live streaming, has been pushing me to do it. So we said, screw it, we're gonna do it for March Madness, and we'll continue to do it when
Yeah,
we
why not? Give
yeah.
it a give it a whirl. Just
Um,
give the people what they want.
First thing, I kind of like the contradiction tonight. You with the Gophers, me with the Tommies. I thought the one thing we wanted to kind of talk about a little bit before we get into the nitty gritty of March Madness was we're going to go through a little bit of, I guess it's not new news, but the Gophers head coach Ben Johnson has, for lack of better words, been relieved of his basketball duties. Thank God. But wanted to shout out my Tommies who, despite a stupid NCAA transition rule, was closer to making the March Madness bracket than the Gophers were.
Well, they
Um,
still lost to Omaha in the title game
they
to
did,
get
and
there, but
some may say,
then we have a different discussion. But
no, and some may say the Summit League is worse competition than the Big Ten, and I
of course,
100% agree. You still got to beat
got to
who,
give it to the Tommies.
and
Got to give it to the Tommies. No, that's
this
all respect.
we're not going to give away too much tonight, but what's going on right here with the Tommies and everything, you'll see if you tune in a couple nights for our weekly podcast. In the first segment of our Truthfully, it is Tommy related. So yeah, you my
Yeah,
friend,
follow Jack and his Tommy fandom and his Tommy news, and he's
that's
all on it. Football, basketball, hockey, you name it.
yeah, all that
So
fun stuff.
the
But yeah,
Tommy connoisseur.
exactly. And this Gopher, apologetic almost to a point, is had the great idea of actually kind of going over. I was actually super relieved that Ben Johnson was gone. I don't know him more than anybody else, but he just wasn't getting the job done. It was your idea
Unfortunately.
to kind of talk about this. What are your general reactions to it, and who do you think should, if you had a vote, who would you vote
Mhm.
for this upcoming season?
Yeah, so he was just put in a bad spot. I mean, we relieved Richard Patino. He ends up going to New Mexico and now building a foundation there. Lobos are in the dance, like once again, and the Gophers are sitting at home and not even an NIT, CBI bid, nothing like that. Really, just the downfall for Ben Johnson, who, by the way, is he's exceptional person. I mean, he's great with the state of Minnesota and building relationships with the players. But really, the downfall was when Farrell Payne took $500,000 to go to Texas A&M, and then Elijah Hawkins, I think, took like 350,000. They also lost Braden Carrington to the transfer portal. So these are crazy times right now in NCAA in both basketball and football. It's just he didn't have the money to work with. There was really not much that he could do, and he did what resources he had. So you can put the blame on both sides. You can put it on Ben Johnson for not recruiting hard enough, and then you can also put on Mark Coyle for not giving us the money that they needed to keep those players. That being said, now we have a coaching vacancy, and a name that is brought up is Nico Medved from
Yeah.
Colorado State.
Okay.
And did
Yep.
you want to touch on that? Do you know a little bit about?
Yeah. No, I mean, you continue to keep doing your thing. You're kind of on a roll here, but yeah. No, the one thing I was gonna say is he is one of the guys that I remember us talking about when Patino actually got let go and thinking about who should take over his spot. I remember Nico, and there was, I can't remember his name for the life of me. A
Probably
Brian
Ben
some.
Jacobson, the former Northern Iowa coach. I think he was
No, no, it was an ex-Gopher guy, um, or Minnesota guy that we wanted to bring back. I can't remember his name.
Ryan Saunders.
Love that guy, but no, not him.
but he is going to be probably a candidate too as well, just because of his Gopher ties.
Yeah.
So
By the way,
Nico,
quick,
yeah,
before, don't mean to cut you off again here, but again, we are live. I think based off our test yesterday, we're on about a 20-second delay or something like that. But for the many listeners we may get, don't be shy. Shoot us a question, anything like that, and we will do our best to address it in a timely manner.
yeah.
So I apologize
Since
for
we're
that.
doing this kind of like trial and error tonight too as well, can you are you able to see the YouTube and see if people are commenting at all?
Yeah, I see like a little bit of a chat here, and I can see we
Okay.
have four viewers
Okay.
on YouTube.
Because
So
if people are in the chat and they want, if they want to say anything and participate in the class, that'd be
yeah,
awesome. Or
no,
don't forget to hit the subscribe and smoosh the like button.
amen. Hey,
Uh,
I need to get a better job. I have it on my list to make a better outro. My old one used to be just so lengthy, and it hit all the points that I wanted to. But now that we're on YouTube, it needs to be more concise. So I'm gonna work on that. But yes, like he said, subscribe. And that's why the reason I brought it up. As much as I love doing this podcast, I do it for you guys, the listeners. So if there's a topic you want us to address tonight, if there's a question you have, ever do not hesitate. All our socials are linked to the YouTube page. You can follow us on Instagram as well. But yes, as our usual listeners are probably used to, we digress here. Continue.
yeah. So back on Nico Medved, so he was actually a student manager for Clem Haskins. I'm
Oh,
sure with our fan base, they have no idea who Clem Haskins is and how that all came about and why the Gophers are stinky every season. But Nico has been around with the program, so student manager. That he was a head coach for uh, Drake, and then he took the Colorado State job. It's just he's a name, and
yeah.
he's doing a great job at Colorado State. Which, ironically, as we break down the brackets, we'll see how far Colorado State does go in the big dance. Obviously, he is number one probably on Mark Hoyle's list, but then you also have Brian Dutcher, the head coach for San Diego State.
I think that's who it was, Brian Dutcher.
Okay, well so I don't need to be age discriminatory, but he's also getting close to his 60s.
Oh,
I
is he?
really think at
Didn't
this
know
point
that.
at this point in time, you still need a young blood head coach. One
Really?
of my dark horses that nobody has been talking about,
Yeah.
Phil Martelli Jr. from Bryant College. Bryant has the heavy task to take on Michigan State in the first round of the NCAA
Yeah.
tournament.
Why does name sound
Martell,
familiar?
his dad Phil Martelli was the head coach for St. Joseph's back in the early 2000s.
Oh,
Led them to an Elite Eight run. They had Jameer Nelson, Delonte West,
yep. That was
one other guy I forgot, but Phil Martelli Jr. ironically was also on that team.
uh,
Um, I've been doing a little bit of research, so he has been around college basketball as well as around NBA type players.
mhm.
He did coach for one of the G League teams several years back, and now he's the head coach for Bryant. He's 43 years old. He's got a lot of energy. He reminds me of somebody I know and that you know that likes to say, "Row the boat, Sky Yamago Gophers." If I'm
Jennifer
Mark,
Aniston. Sorry, who is Jennifer Aniston?
who,
Did I get it right?
no, but anyway, so that's a name.
Okay.
Especially, it's going to be a hot name if Bryant actually knocks off Michigan State, because then Phil Martelli is going to be junior is going to be the talk of the town. His dad was the interim coach for Michigan too, as well, a couple years ago.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
So I
No.
know the Gophers. They do and they don't love their Italian coaches, but Richard Pitino is Italian.
Yep.
Why not bring that back? I give him a call, Mark Hoyle, Phil Martelli Jr. That's my dark horse. Otherwise, play it safe and go for Nico Medved. But honestly, I think he likes his job out in the Rockies.
Yeah, so you'd probably have to try to lure him with more money than what he's getting now, or something like that, maybe.
Got to do something, but no, that's it. It's a name that I was looking like watching the tournament breakdowns and all that, and it's like Phil Martelli Jr. That's Phil Martelli's son, and I don't know, could be a hot name. And the big thing is though, he's an East Coast guy. Does he want to build something here in Minnesota? That's the big question. But he's a networker. He knows how to get people in. So
yeah, no, and I didn't know that. And after you said that, I think this Gopher basketball program needs an East Coast figure like that. I mean, they're hard nosed, they're tough, they're guys that are, I shouldn't say tough to play for, but those type of coaches tend to be, you either love playing for them or you hate playing for them. And I think, like you talked about, being kind of like the mega conferences with how big the Big Ten is. You got Oregon, Ohio State had an off year, but you look at some of these top tier programs, they're not going to go anywhere. So if you're the Gophers, you need to do your best to kind of at least keep your head above water and stay 500, stay, in the top half of the conference.
Competitive. Consistently competitive. Like you can't beat Michigan one game and then freaking lose at home to Washington.
No, and I think that's the one knock on why they didn't get an invitation to the big dance. I think if they were able to string together 3, 4, maybe even 5 straight Big Ten games, even with an early exit in the Big Ten tournament, I'm inclined to think in a big conference, powerful conference like the Big Ten, if you were able to string together 3 to 5 wins, you might get a last 4 in 16 nod, maybe. But when you're win, lose, it's I'm sure it's tough to justify that.
And there were no names other than Dawson Garcia. Like who else can you name on the Gophers? Like
that's a great point.
Unless you're a big fan, but yeah, Dawson Garcia was the only name. Just imagine if they had Farrell Payne and Elijah Hawkins. I mean, they may have been a 20-win team, but that's the got to make the money.
No, and that's the one thing I'll say. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but we've talked about it before at length. This NIL, this landscape of college sports, is going to change it forever. You used to, back in the day, I remember the dynasty at Michigan, the Villanova dynasty, and it was kind of fun to watch those in college because you usually only have those kids for a couple of years before they graduate.
Florida.
You're not gonna see that anymore.
You're not gonna see a Florida team like that ever again. I think that was the last.
You're gonna see a team be completely different year after year, and it's kind of sad. I get it because these guys want to look for what's best for them, but at the end of the day, I think it's annoying. It's a good idea to let these kids make money off their name, image, and likeness, but I don't know where to cut the line.
That's another thing. Like, how much money is Mark Coyle going to give the head coach, and how much money is he? Like, are we going to bring into the program so they have what they need? I mean, they have the facilities, but they just don't have the money to pay these players. And it's just like it's a totally different world than it was 5 years ago. So.
No doubt.
I feel like just the transfer portal is crazy. I feel like there should be some restrictions. I'm seeing some players like 4-year statistics, and it's just like they were at Vermont, then they went to St. Mary's, then they went to Colorado State, then they went to Florida. It's just like, make up your mind. Like you shouldn't be able to dance around like that. But I don't know. They gave the kids free reign. So what do you do? What do you do? Phil Martelli Jr., write that down.
I like it. Before we get too far away from it, I do want to give shout outs to Nicole tuning in. Can't wait to hear your take on the bracket stuff for March Madness. Love it. And then Cassie, a couple minutes ago, said, can't wait to hear if you guys have any underdogs picked. I definitely do, and I'm sure Sam does. But truthfully, that's why I love having you on the podcast, because I love the Gophers. I'm not as knowledgeable about the Gophers and their staff and their players as much. The one thing I will say as we wrap up talking about the Gophers head coach vacancy, in my mind as a casual Gopher fan, I don't really care who they get. I think the two things that you absolutely need in a college coach You need somebody who can recruit because, I mean, that's what you need. You're going to lose guys to the transfer portal to begin with. So if you can get a highly recruited top prospect coming out of high school and at least try to be competitive for 1 year at a time, that's good. And a coach that knows how to freaking win. We're live. I'm going to try to do my best not to curse too vulgarity.
I don't know what the restrictions are with YouTube. We just don't want to, whatever. No. We don't want to mess with the algorithm.
A relatively young guy that knows how to recruit and a relatively young guy that knows how to win and how to motivate kids to win. I hate to admit it. I saw Ben Johnson do it a little bit this year in some of those late game wins. He just couldn't string enough together. So it's like, I'm glad
he didn't have the roster. He just did not have the roster. And Brendan Rigsby decided to show up towards the end of the season, but it's just like, dude, where were you before? But it is what it is. That's a season that's just a wash, and I would just love to see the Gopher basketball team be competitive again consistently, but we have not seen that for 30 years.
Yeah, that's almost my entire life.
96, 97. Well, 98, 99 was when they let go of Clem due to that's another discussion as to why, but you can read up
on rabbit hole that we don't really
need. You can read up on it. But go Gophers,
go Gophers, roll Toms. But yes, like we mentioned when we first got on here, March Madness.
Let's break this down.
What a time of the year. I've talked with multiple friends, multiple family members the last couple of years. March is arguably the best time for sports, and I can see why with March Madness just kind of
best time of the year.
I
mean, I'm more charged up than I have been over the last few years with the NCAA tournament because after COVID had canceled the whole season, which was like just like a heartbreak, like you were in a bad relationship and it just had to go. And no, that NCAA tournament is beautiful. So when they got rid of that that year, it was terrible. But here we are. Now we're full swing. We got players getting paid, but we do have some beefy teams that are pretty dang good, and we'll get the ball rolling with how this bracket goes.
We do, and I have to say one last comment I will make before we kind of get into the nitty gritty, just kind of as March Madness as a whole. I don't know if you can. If you agree with this or not, but I kind of feel like I don't want to use the word top heavy, but these 4 1 seeds and 4 2 seeds is some of the most solid teams and more depth this year. Probably, I mean, this is 25, so 24, 23, 22, maybe the better part of the last 3 or 4 years. I've been able to look at a bracket and been like, okay, all 4 of these seeds or all 4 of these number 2 seeds are good. But this number 1 seed is clearly going to be the first one to lose, or this number 2 seed is clearly the first one to lose. And I'm not gonna lie, I've racked my brain about a lot of these games, so it's going to be fun. Clearly, Sam and I think we are basketball fanatics and know all the stuff. That's why we're doing that, right?
I feel like my bracket predictions were better when I was like 12, 13 years old than I do now. Because you have the mid-majors winning consistently and all that. So it's definitely changed. But should we start with the South region?
Yeah, let's go with it. You said, I remember at the beginning you said you had your first bracket. So just for everybody that maybe doesn't know, what we're going to do is we're going to go by region. So there's, I think you said South region. We're going to start off with, we got South, Midwest,
Southwest, East,
Midwest. And we're going to bracket all the way down to Final Four and then do Final Four at the end. So
print out your brackets, everybody. Get your pen or pencil and write them down.
Let's do it.
This is not, hey, if whatever these picks, if this wins you money, great, awesome. But this is just, it's the NCAA tournament. I mean, last year I picked UConn to go all the way, but they went back to back. So that was like the safe pick. UConn. Everybody had UConn.
Here's my businessman in me before you kick off your picks. We are not liable for any losses, just like we're not going to come after you for any wins.
There you go.
The floor is yours, Mr. Puppy.
All right, so we got on the 20th, the 1:50 time. We have Auburn against Alabama State or St. Francis, Pennsylvania. So the first four game, I believe, is tomorrow between Alabama State and St. Francis. I want to say St. Francis will pull it off against Alabama State, but I do want to say that they don't have a good clear shot against Auburn. Auburn is a very fast-paced team. They spread the ball. It's a Bruce Pearl basketball team. Auburn's looking well. The last few weeks they've been kind of sluggish a little bit, but they still earned the number one seed. So chalk that up for them to advance to the second round.
Okay.
And then before that game, though, we would have Louisville against Creighton. People believe that Creighton is a solid team.
I would agree.
I do like Louisville. I don't think they've been in the tournament the last couple of years.
No, it's been
this is the 8-9 matchup. I want to give it to McDermott's team. Give it to Creighton. Creighton will advance to the second round to play Auburn.
I like it.
And then our dreaded 5-12 matchup, Michigan against UC San Diego. UC San Diego is kind of, they entered into Division I. They kind of took the path that St. Thomas is doing right now. Right. They joined the Division I in 2020. That's going to be a tricky matchup for Michigan because they've been Jekyll and Hyde too as well this season. Chris Castellani could probably attest to that. Shout out, Chris. What do you think on a 5-12 matchup with Michigan and UC San Diego?
It's tough for me, just because over the last couple of years, the people that know me and the people that listen to this podcast, I'm such a numbers nerd. But statistically speaking, the 12/5 seed is the most common upset in the tournament. And I'm not going to lie, I used to be really trigger happy with that probably 5 or 6 years ago. Since then, I've kind of been a little bit, I shouldn't say hesitant, but I've been more mindful of, okay, who are the teams? Because if I'm being completely honest, I think a team like Liberty has a better chance of upsetting Oregon than
I like Liberty
has Michigan. But yeah, like I said, anything goes. I was actually looking, to your point, I was looking at a stat that they were looking at the Statistica analysis of the upsets, and it's just as uncommon for 14 seeds to win as it is for a 16 seed, and 14 seeds used to win all the time.
Michigan's only favored by 2.5.
I didn't realize that was that close of I haven't really, that's one thing I kind of forgot about. I haven't really looked at any money lines. For my betting people out there, when we come back on in 2 nights for our weekly podcast, I will have some betting picks that I like for this upcoming first round of 64, but I unfortunately don't have any tonight. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I think. So ultimately, how do you see that Michigan UC San Diego game?
It's gonna be a nail biter, I think. But Michigan played exceptionally well for the Big Ten tournament. I'm going to go with Michigan by a sliver. Okay. But it's not going to surprise me if San Diego does pull off the upset. But I'm gonna go chalk on that one. So Michigan over San Diego in the late night game on Thursday night.
Okay.
And then we have Texas A&M versus Yale. Those Ivy League schools always show some fight. I think Yale.
One about the Ivy League. Those are some of the most hard-mouthed teams that I remember watching in the tournament. They may not have the most talent, but
play motion offense, backdoor cuts,
right?
Stifling defense.
Every single point. Sorry,
but athleticism will get to Yale unless Yale shoots lights out with 3-pointers. But I do see Texas A&M handling them. The spread right now is 7.5. Texas A&M. So we'll go with them. The next one. So we got Ole Miss against the winner of San Diego State and North Carolina. I see San Diego State beating North Carolina in the play-in.
Okay.
I'm sure there's probably some North Carolina fans out there that are telling me, "Shut up." You got North Carolina.
Yeah. Ever since the
Missis-
NBA days, I can't get enough.
Mississippi. Is that Chris Beard that coaches that team?
I don't know.
Is that not a Chris Beard squad? Why am I thinking that? Yeah, that is. Yeah, Brian Dutcher against Chris Beard. I'm gonna go. We got our upset. I'll say San Diego State over Ole Miss.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, San Diego State has had some solid squads though. They go far. Didn't they go to? I think they went to the Final Four a few years ago.
That rings a bell. I don't know about Final Four, but for sure Elite Eight.
So, and then next one down is Iowa State against Lipscomb. I believe Lipscomb is somewhere in Florida, Alabama. I don't know. They're in the same conference as Florida Gulf Coast, if you remember the Dunk City back in 2013, 2014, or whatever year that was.
Oh, yeah.
Iowa State is missing one of their key contributors. It's like Keyshawn Gilbert, something like that. They ruled him out for the tournament. The NCAA didn't know, the committee didn't know about that until after the fact, I guess.
Okay.
That might be a little scary of a matchup for Iowa State, but they say the spread is 14.5. So we'll go with Iowa State.
Okay.
Go with the Clones. And then we got Marquette against Richard Pitino's New Mexico Lobos. That'll be a Friday matchup. I don't know too much about New Mexico, but Marquette is, I mean, they're battle tested, but they really haven't beaten anybody. And quite honest, looks like they lost to Iowa State, they've lost to UConn, they lost to St. John's, they lost to Creighton. So it's like any good team that they play against, they lose.
Yeah.
For New Mexico, I mean, they beat UCLA, they've beaten VCU, San Diego State, Utah State. So they've beaten NCAA tournament teams. I'm going to go with the Lobos on that one. Get the 10 over the 7.
Okay. I like it.
And then to finish off the South, Michigan State against Bryant. I badly want to pick Bryant to beat Michigan State, but Jace Richardson, the freshman, that is Jason Richardson's son. So I've aged myself now too. Jason Richardson played on the 01, 02, 02 of those Final Four runs. So they got a good team. Michigan State is destined to. They're ready for a deep run. So that's for sure.
I like it.
And then we go with the West. Florida, Norfolk State.
I'll do mine.
Florida's got like one of their better teams. Yeah, my bad. What was that?
Yeah, no, you're fine. I was just gonna say I'm psyched about Florida. I can rip through my South really quick then too. Or actually,
my bad.
Why don't so then go through. Why don't you do your round of 32 for the South then?
Okay.
So
and then we got.
Like we'll do one.
Okay, so we'll just do South. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Auburn against
I like
Creighton.
Those first round picks, by the way. I like them.
We'll have Auburn over Creighton. That sounds good to me. I think Auburn's still tough. Michigan against Texas A&M. That is going to be love Michigan to handle San Diego. That'll be a really good game. Like I like Michigan, but I don't like Michigan. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. They're a good team and they played really well this year. but as a Gopher fan, it's hard to really root for or be fans of any other Big Ten team in the tournament. But
Well, it's just like how did Michigan lose to the Gophers is the question. So I feel like Texas A&M is too strong, and also Farrell Payne is on that team. Give me A&M.
okay, I like it.
Give me A&M on the heading into the Sweet 16, and then the San Diego State against Iowa State. So again, I feel like that injury of Gilbert is gonna hurt Iowa State a little bit. I feel like they're a little bit overseeded. I don't think they should be a 3, even though they were, I think, number 2 in the country early on in the season. But I don't know. We need upsets around here. So give me San Diego State over Iowa State.
Ooh, wow.
So,
Okay, bold. I like it. That's what we like here.
and then to round up the round of 32 in the South region, that would be New Mexico against Michigan State. Give me Michigan State.
Like it.
And then for the Sweet 16, you would have Auburn against Texas A&M in an SEC showdown.
Ooh.
Give me Auburn. Give me Auburn.
Okay.
And then I'll take Michigan State over San Diego State. And then Auburn versus Michigan State in the Elite Eight.
Mr. Puppy.
Give me Michigan State. We're going to the Final Four, Tom Izzo.
Okay. I like it. All right. You heard it here first. South region will be represented by Michigan State for Sam. So, no, I honestly liked a lot of your picks. Yeah, I'll rip through mine and then we can keep the show rolling. So for me, pretty simple. You actually did better than me. I didn't even say who I was. I didn't even really do the first 4 games. But number 1, Auburn over Alabama State or St. Francis. For me, I wrote down some notes for some of the games. Number 1, it's very hard for a 16 team to beat a 1 seed. They're just far better than them. Not only as Johnny,
unless you're UMBC against Virginia,
what was his name? Johnny Brome is arguably one of the best players in the nation, up for National Player of the Year. Shout out to him. But Chad Baker Mazara, I was looking into him. He's kind of a wild card player for them. He plays a pretty bit aggressively and either does really well and helps the team out really well, or goes the other way. And I think this is just, Auburn is just going to be way too much regardless of who it is. So I got Auburn. And then that Louisville and Creighton game, I always have the hardest time deciding these 8-9 games. I don't even really look at these as upsets, really. You got Terrence Edwards, Chucky Hepburn. And it looks like, both these teams, had a little bit of luck coming into the tournament. Louisville seemed to be kind of on like a little bit of a heater coming through the end of the season, whereas Creighton was a little bit more streakier. And yeah, I don't know. I think ultimately
I like Chucky Hepburn.
Yeah, I do too. And truthfully, I think it's going to come down to who's going to get that stop. And to me, it seems like Louisville is the better defensive team. So I'm going to take Louisville in this game, in the 8-9 game. And then Michigan, UC San Diego. Like I talked about, I like taking these 12 seeds in these, but this was one of the first in recent memory games that I was just like, no way this is happening. This could be a blowout just in the first half. I think Michigan is just far and away the best.
So you want St. Thomas to be the one to be like, we're going from D3 to the jump to and they go to the dance and they can knock somebody out to be the first one to.
Dude, like I said, we're going to see half these kids being drafted this year, half of them going to completely different schools. But yes, to your point, I think depending on who they match up with, I think if they have a not so great season and win the Summit League and they have to go up against a 1, 2, or 3 team, Hell no. They're not winning a game in the first round. If they get lucky and have a really good season, have a really good record, win that, and are able to get somewhere around that 8, 9, 10 seed, I think, I mean, once it's like the adage, why not us? Like why
Why not?
like everybody starts off this tournament 0-0. So yeah, that's what I got. I got Michigan, and then Yale, Texas A&M. I went back and forth on this one a bit too.
Yale.
I think A&M is far the better team. But like I
mean,
said,
the SEC had 14 teams to make it to the dance.
and I think when you look at when you look at
But
this
their conference
Yale
has
team,
like 20 teams in it.
yeah, when you look at this Yale team, it really, I mean, you look at their last, what's this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. They kind of got hot those last couple games, and from the tournament. So coming out of the season, they didn't do hot. After I looked more into it and looked at some of the stats, this was a pretty easy one for me to pick. Texas A&M will come out on top on that one. Ole Miss, UNC, first bracket buster. No, Jack, you just said you were a Tar Heels fan. Yes, I did. This is not me being biased. Look, in my opinion, this Tar Heel team, and I will be the first to admit, outside of the Gophers here and there and the Tommies, I didn't watch as much college basketball as I'd like to.
So you were kind of happy that North Carolina beat the Gophers the last 2 years in football. Just kidding.
No, I'm a North Carolina basketball fan, not a football fan. But RJ Davis is still there. They still got Elijah Davis. They have Ty Cloud. Like, they have some of the best guards on their team. They have a lot of talent. They've just been a team that's been wildly inconsistent. They played a really tough non-conference schedule. And this year, when Duke is as loaded as they are, anybody that has to play Duke twice is going to struggle a little bit. And they are one stupid mistake away from arguably being one of the top four teams left in the ACC tournament. So give me UNC to not only beat SDSU, but to beat Ole Miss. This team, they don't have Armando Bacot anymore, but again, like I said, looking up and down this team, they have a lot more seniors and juniors than you're used to seeing on rosters. These guys are battle tested. This is the lowest seed they've ever had in program history. They will be ready to show teams they still mean business. And I'd love.
Yeah, they got the wrong graduate transfer players. Go San Diego State.
Iowa State, Lipscomb. Unfortunately, again, this South bracket, I didn't have a ton of upsets in the first round. I like Iowa State Cyclones. I think that's going to come down to that's going to be more of a shootout. And, I look at this Iowa State team, and I just think they have more shooters. Marquette and New Mexico. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of upsets. I like New Mexico in this game.
You do like the Lobos.
I do like New Mexico in this game. Again, I don't know what it is in me. I kind of came into the bracket challenges looking at these and with everything happening with kind of an offensive mindset, which is unusual for me. I'm more kind of focused on, hey, who can get defensive stops and that kind of fun stuff. And I look at some of these, stats. You got Donovan Dent, who's averaging almost 21 points a game. And 7 assists per game. And then you got Nelly Jr. Averaging 14 points a game and 11 rebounds a game.
Oh, shit.
This,
I'm doing.
This, yeah, I like.
So I swear.
You're good. I like New Mexico in that game. And then Michigan State, Bryant Bulldogs, similar to the 1 seed. We talked
about. I want to say Brian. What? Like they're.
Tom Izzo and the Spartans just don't lose in the first round as much.
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do, Jack. Yes, they
Richardson's do. Coming to the tournament, averaging 12 points on over 51% shooting from the floor. I think it's going to get ugly for the Bryant Bulldogs and hopefully pull their coach away from them to us. And I got
and I will say, like, if he beats Michigan State, Gophers are out of luck on probably getting him as the next head coach. But
I would agree with you. That's why I think Michigan's just a better team. They're going to win.
No, they're definitely going to be a
round of 32. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys before I get more into this, South. I think Auburn is just too talented to lose to anybody outside of the Elite Eight. So I'm taking Auburn over Louisville. Again, I brought it up in round one. Joni Brome, one of the best players in the nation. He gets it done on the
both ends of the floor.
Both ends of the floor. He can rebound the hell out of the ball. He doesn't have the worst passing assists for a big he's like a power forward, small forward, I believe.
It's like 6'7", 6'8".
It's going to be too much to handle for Louisville. Michigan and Texas Tech. This is kind of where it starts to get interesting for me. I think both of these teams are both very evenly matched. It should be a really fun game. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think these top level of Big Ten teams this year are just so damn good when they're not
Danny Wolf and Donaldson
when they're not playing the ACC. So give me Michigan. And then UNC Iowa State. I spent so much time on this pick, Sam. My heart tells me UNC once again battle tested. They're gonna go the distance.
It's your bracket.
Again, I won't lie, and I'll say this on our live stream too. My heart says UNC will at least go to the Sweet 16, but as a basketball fan, I can't do it, and I would rather pick them to lose and have them prove me wrong than say, oh, they're going to win the national championship, and they don't even win their first four games.
Like me with Arizona.
Plus, like I talked about in that first round, Iowa State, Lipscomb, I think Iowa State is going to be feeling themselves after that first game. They're going to be shooting lights out. They got a lot of shots. They can make shots, and I think they're just going to outshoot RJ Davis and those boys. So give me Iowa State to move on to the Sweet 16. And then, look, I said it earlier. It brings me no pleasure in saying this. But again, unless they are playing the ACC, the Big Ten has looked phenomenal this year. I hate to admit it.
Let's see what happens.
Favorite coach, but Tom is a great coach. There is something to be said that you can be a Gopher fan, you can be a Tommy fan and not like the guy. But as a basketball fan, again, like we talked about with who needs to coach for the Gophers, he knows how to win and he's a good coach. So give me Michigan State to be the second Big Ten team in the South to go to the Sweet 16. And then that is for me, that's where the Michigan State or University of Michigan ends. Once again, I think
it's Auburn.
I think Auburn is on a mission this year. Auburn moves on to the Elite Eight. And then Iowa State, Michigan State. Again, I think it comes down to shooting in a game like this. And like I talked about in that first round game, I think Iowa State
with the massive upset over Michigan State.
I think they're going to do it. I think they have a little bit more. I think from what I've seen on both these teams, they're both they're not the greatest teams defensively, but they're both comparable on the defensive end. I think on the offensive side, Iowa, statistically speaking, looks to be a little bit better of the team. So I'm actually going to take Iowa State. And then I got Auburn and Iowa State in the Elite Eight for a trip to four on the round.
Punch their ticket.
What is it? In Los? Yeah, or no, not Los. San Antonio. Give me Auburn.
Auburn going to the 4.
And like I said, this is going to be a good year for 1 and 2 seeds. So that is what I have for the South. I got Auburn representing.
All right, and then run through the West bracket.
Let's
Good
do it.
picks, by the way. Everybody's bracket is different. It's what makes the NCAA tournament beautiful, is because you just literally have no idea. Sometimes they could be they could be like the best team, and then as they step on the court, and next thing you know, you have a UMBC over Virginia, or a Norfolk State over Duke, or that's it happens. But
I almost
sadly,
had
with
Norfolk State over Duke. That's funny.
sadly with I think, who was it that beat them? I think it was Lehigh. They lost to Lehigh. 2
Yeah,
versus 15,
yes.
and
That was back in what,
and
14 or 15?
2012. I want to say.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, you can be one of the better seeds, and you can get bounced out pretty quickly. But Florida will be able to handle Norfolk State. I don't see that being a problem. Willie Clayton transferred. I forgot where he came from, but he came over to Florida last year. But probably the MVP on that team. They are pretty deep too, as well. They have that redshirt freshman, Oliver or Olivier Ryu. How tall he is. He'll be playing next year. He's 7'9".
Good God, who is this?
Olivier Ryu, Oliver Ryu from Florida. He's redshirted this year, but he's 7'9" tall.
Okay, sorry, I must not heard
time out.
I don't remember seeing a 7'9" guy in any of the college highlights I watched before coming on.
7'9". OLIVERRIOUX, I believe is how you spell his last name.
Okay, so before you get into your West picks, do we just give Florida the national championship next year then?
Nope.
I mean, how do you defend a guy who's 7'9"?
I mean, he's got to bulk up a little bit, but he's definitely got some work.
Or something.
But that's why. But yeah, 7'9", the tallest in NBA history if he ever makes it. But which he probably will. I mean, he's like a Sean Bradley, but I think he's more. He's a better scorer. Yeah, I know, right? Look at me, I'm 5'6", crazy. And then we got UConn, the defending national champions, going up against the Oklahoma Sooners in the 8-9 matchup. I mean, UConn, they lost. Who's that guy? Clingan. They lost their big man Donovan Clingan. They also lost Stephon Castle. They lost a couple other guys to graduation, yada, yada. But Dan Hurley knows how to coach.
He does.
And Oklahoma doesn't really impress me much. And they have Connecticut by 4.5. Give me UConn. No. And then Memphis versus Colorado State. Give me the Rams. Give me the Rams on that 1:00 on Friday.
Okay.
Nico Medved squad going to the next round. Another scary matchup too, as well, as Maryland versus Grand Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say Maryland's a little bit overrated.
Yeah, I know. I would agree with that.
And if we're gonna go with an upset pick, give me Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon. I mean, the spread is
bold. Live bold.
Maryland's 10.5, but give me Grand Canyon, so we'll have a Colorado State Grand Canyon second round matchup.
That would be pretty lit.
Is anybody in the chat saying I'm absolutely crazy? I'm out of my mind.
Not so far, but we still have some time.
That's right. So yeah, give me Grand Canyon. And then we got Missouri against Drake. Best I ever had, best I ever had, best I ever. That's another sneaky one too, as well, because Mizzou. I don't even know who's on Mizzou. Didn't watch enough of their basketball, but we always know about Drake. Who doesn't? Give me Drake. Give me Drake in the upset over Mizzou.
You may be getting confused with Drake the college and Drake the rapper.
Yeah, well, which I don't know. Which one's better publicly? I'll go with Drake, the college basketball team.
I would have to agree. Anyways.
Then Texas Tech against UNC Wilmington. Sorry, Seahawks fans, but Elijah Hawkins and Texas Tech are just going to be too strong. Then Kansas versus Arkansas against Arkansas. Kansas against Arkansas. Kansas kind of have a down year this year. Nobody really pops out to me. Arkansas, SEC school.
A little more battle tested, maybe.
A little more battle tested, but Kansas did beat Iowa State. They did beat Arizona.
Total chicken fingers.
They do have Hunter Dickinson. Actually, I do forget about that. They do have Hunter Dickinson. He does get a lot of flack, I guess, but give me Kansas over Arkansas.
I'm just realizing now you have your mini weekend hat on. Go online and get some merch. I have no idea.
I'll say what we can do too is we can do a mini weekend challenge, and whoever wins some merch, maybe a gift card. Anybody in the talk to us chat? What are some ideas you'd like us to do? But could you do mini merch?
Yeah, no, for sure. I've been trying to be good about it these last couple nights leading up to this, but yes, we are still Sam. I know I myself have to get in there and make my picks and everything like that too. But yes, go to ESPN.com under bracket challenge. Look up groups and type in the mini weekend. It should be the only one that comes up. You can do up to 2 brackets. And yes, just like what he said, we are doing a bracket challenge. So depending on how many people join, I think last year we had 35 people joined. And I think I got the top 8 people or something like that with merch. So yeah, we will definitely be doing that again. We will definitely.
There we go. And then to round out the West, got St. John's against Omaha. Omaha beat your Tommies in the title game.
They did. Watch out for Omaha. I thought they were gonna. I didn't think they'd be seated that low. I'm not saying they're going to beat St. John's because St. John's is a good team this year. Shout out Patino. But don't be surprised if Omaha makes that a close game and gives St. John's a little bit of a scare.
But
you would be surprised?
I wouldn't be surprised. Oh. But the line, they have 18.5 is what the money or what the spread is.
The spread hammer that 18.5 Omaha.
Give me the Red Storm winning handily. RJ Lewis should be the player of the year for the nation, but they'll probably go to Cooper Flagg, but whatever. Patino's done a fine job.
Lame.
And then round of 32, Florida against UConn. Florida's going to overwhelm UConn. Colorado State against Grand Canyon, the battle out west. Give me the Rams. Give me the Rams. And then Drake against Texas Tech. Drake's Cinderella run goes away. Texas Tech is a strong team. So give me Texas Tech, and then I'll take St. John's over Kansas.
Kansas.
And then for the Sweet 16 matchup, Florida against the Colorado State Rams. We got Golden against Medved. We got essentially the number 1 team in the country against the number 1 hot ticket coach that the Gophers want in the Sweet 16 matchup. Unfortunately, Medved, your flight after the Colorado State-Florida game is probably going to be to Minneapolis to speak with Mr. Mark Coyle. So give me Florida. And then heavyweight matchup, Texas Tech against St. John's.
Just showed my brother's comment, SJU. Love the enthusiasm. I think you are talking about St. John's in Collegeville, Minnesota. This St. John's is from New York, but still love the enthusiasm.
Johnny's! But that's going to be a heavyweight bout, Texas Tech and St. John's. I mean, St. John's is last year. They were the ones that were like the last 4 out, and Patino was furious because St. John's had a solid team last year too. I think they went far in the NIT.
I know. I was surprised again, not watching a ton this year. I was surprised they finished so high, being a team that didn't even make the. And again, that just goes to show you how crazy the landscape of college basketball
Yeah.
has changed and will continue to change.
But I think right now they're the number 5 ranked team in the country. But Texas, they would have their hands full. But I have been riding the Red Storm wagon this season. Give me St. John's. Give me St. John's to the Elite Eight against Florida.
Heavyweight bout again.
So we'll just go because I filled out another bracket yesterday. Let's follow kind of the same pattern. I got St. John's over Florida in the Elite Eight.
Okay.
St. John's is going to the Final Four, baby.
I like it. A lot of bold picks there. And hey, you stuck by them. And
yeah, the West is gonna get it's gonna be a wild west.
I think that there's going to be so many close games this year, more than we've maybe seen before in the round of 64.
No, I love the buzzer beaters.
215s. But yeah, anyways, jumping into mine, pretty simple for me, like Sam's talked about with the 1 and 2 seeds. I don't think Florida is going to have much of an issue against Norfolk State. All 4 of these teams have a player that is one of the best in the nation and is up for the National Player of the Year. Florida's is Walter Clayton Jr. Transferred from Iona last year. Is arguably, he's maybe not the best defensive player, but he's arguably one of the best, if not the best offensive player in the league, who can pull up going left, drive left or right, and can give you 30 more points.
I want to say, ironically, he's a Rick Pitino recruit. I think, ironically.
He might. But yeah, like I said, pretty simple for me. Florida over Norfolk. This UConn-Oklahoma game, I actually like Oklahoma. Looking at it, it looks like they're more a little bit more of the offensive team versus the defensive team. But again, we've been through this with last one. I'm kind of looking at who's going to give me points in my bracket this year. Plus, it looks like a lot of people might be saying, well, Connecticut's been a little more hot coming into the tournament. I just think Oklahoma's been playing a lot better teams. And
so no 3P for UConn.
No 3P for UConn. I think trying to win. I saw another stat. I'm not gonna try to derail this thing, but I saw some stat that it was like there hasn't been a single team that's won the national championship that's ever been lower than, I think, maybe a 4 or 5 seed. So like if you're a 6, 7, 8 seed, you have a really uphill battle. Actually, homework for you. Prove me wrong. I think I could be wrong, but I think the only teams that have ever won a national championship have ranked 1, 2, 3, or 4, maybe 5 in their respective
so
we'll come back
Jack, and we'll verify.
We'll come back and we'll verify Wednesday night.
We'll verify this right now. My birthday is coming up April 2nd, turning 40. The paper.
Oh, look, a day over 30.
When I was born, Georgetown had lost to a number 8 seed by the name of the Villanova Wildcats.
What?
1985 Villanova number 8 seed won the NCAA tournament.
No kidding.
Yes.
Holy moly.
Yes. So the big upset, and then I was born. How about that?
I've been known to be
April
wrong before.
2nd paper, because I think the game was April 1st. It's at Villanova, and they shot like 60% from the floor. But anyway, that's the stat boy for you. But yeah, Villanova, number 8 seed. It's the highest seed to ever win the title. I want to actually let's match that, because UConn or Kentucky? Kentucky may have been an 8 seed, and they went to the final. I don't know if they won it because
I
I think
don't think it's
UConn did.
uncommon for.
I think UConn was like a 7 seed.
I think
something.
it's more common for a higher seed to make it to the Final Four or to make it to the final game. I think that's more common than it is for them to actually win the whole thing. But
yeah. So what do you have for your?
Yeah, and then Memphis, Colorado State. I kind of went back and forth on this one a lot. You're gonna hear me say that often in my bracket here. And part of me, hot take, I'm gonna say is I think regardless of how far Colorado State potentially could go in the tournament, I don't think that would change Nico Medved's ability to come to us. Meaning, even if he were to make it to the Sweet 16, I don't think it's a closed deal that he wouldn't come to us and coach us. So you know what? Give me Colorado State. I'm gonna take Colorado State over Memphis. Maryland and Grand Canyon. I really wanted to take Grand Canyon in this one, but the more I thought about it, Derek Queen is a top player, ESPN top 100 recruit for them, and I think this Maryland team is a better shooting team and a better defensive team. I think they're just a better team. I think there is a chance Grand Canyon could get lucky, but I don't love that chance. So give me Maryland, Missouri Drake, easy Missouri. Drake doesn't play a great conference, and I don't think they're as battle tested as Mizzou is.
Missouri, that was not too bad.
Texas Tech, UNC Wilmington. I've never liked UNC Wilmington. I don't even know how the heck.
Wilmington, the Seahawks, man.
I don't know how they made the tournament this year. They probably won their. Yeah, they won their.
They won the Colonial that they're in.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, give me Texas Tech, and then Kansas and Arkansas. I know that's not how you pronounce
Arkansas.
it. I'm going with it. I'm actually taking Arkansas in this one.
Arkansas.
I think Kansas has been a good team in the Big 12. No, that's not a thing anymore. I just don't think Kansas is good this year. They've been a powerhouse in recent years with Bill Self and all them guys, but not.
They got Hunter Dickinson. They got Big Dick in the middle.
Florida, Oklahoma. I like Florida in this one. Colorado State, Maryland.
What do you do?
Honestly,
Nico Wagon.
Yeah, I think Colorado State makes it. I think they go to the Sweet 16.
No, Hunter Dickinson is 6'10", so that was it was a play on words. For those offended.
The Missouri, Texas Tech. Again, another, Missouri, I believe, is a better offensive team. I believe Texas Tech is a better defensive team.
Elijah Hawkins is on Texas Tech.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this game, one of the few games looking at my bracket, is going to come down to defense. So, give me Texas Tech. And then Arkansas and St. John's, kind of like what you said. I think this St. John's team this year is just too good. So I got St. John's moving on to the Sweet 16. Florida, Colorado State. I think Nico Medved's Cinderella story is going to come to an end. I really believe Florida is just overall the better team in this matchup. So I'm going to go Florida going to the Elite Eight. And then Texas Tech and St. John's is going to be another hard-fought game. Once again, Texas Tech being the better offensive team, St. John's being the better defensive team. Who's going to show up? And
RJ Lewis Jr. all tourney, baby. Go St. John's.
I know, and I ultimately think it's going to be St. John's. But this is where you and I differ, my friend. I got Florida going to the Final Four for a date with the Auburn Tigers.
So, there you go.
Book it.
All right. Now we're going with the East. This is where the
Yeah.
national champion might be coming out of here. We'll see. Duke over American or Mount St. Mary's. I think that's MSN. I would bet a lot of people around America would love American to win and then to beat Duke. I'm sure people would absolutely love that, but it's not going to happen. Unfortunately, Duke is just way too strong. Cooper Flag is going to be healthy. He just rolled his ankle. He'll be fine. They got Con Knipple. They got a few other. They're stacked. It's a loaded roster. John Shire's done a great job after Mike Krzyzewski leaving, retiring, what have you. So, yeah, give me Duke. Mississippi State against Baylor. I feel like Baylor is actually, well, 19-14 was their record. Yikes. And close losses. Regardless, give me Baylor. Give me Baylor in the 8-9 matchup. And then Oregon versus give me Liberty or give me Death. Oregon does not impress me much. Like Shania Twain, that don't impress me much. I'll say give me Liberty over Oregon. I'll get a 12 over a 5 here.
Okay.
I mean, who's on Oregon? That Shellstead kid, but Liberty is it's a modest upset pick that could possibly make a run because next game you have is Arizona against Akron. For years upon years, I would always put Arizona far as hell, the Elite Eight, the Final Four, but they always let you down. They always let you down. That's a tricky matchup.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
It's a 28-6 Akron Zip. Arizona, I feel like they fall. Oops, sorry for 13.5. I don't want to regret it, but I'll pick Arizona because I do. It was one of my dreams to go to the University of Arizona. I was always a Zona cat. So, give me Arizona. Caleb Love, hopefully, can ride the ship.
Hey, he used to be Tar Heel. I want that known.
I wonder why he left. It's probably no, but honestly, it's probably this. It's probably the money. They probably gave him. He's probably making like $1.2 million as a college kid. Must be nice, huh?
Right.
And then you got BYU versus VCU. Give me the Mormons. Give me the Mormons. Let's go. Let's go, Cougars. And then Wisconsin against Montana. I don't like doing it, but go. Wisconsin will advance. Their strong team. St. Mary's against Vanderbilt. Give me St. Mary's. Alabama against Robert Morris. What is that? 2 first names? Somebody today could be more. Give me Bama. Right. But watch Robert Morris with the upset. What is the spread on that? 22.5. Love it. Give me Alabama. And then round of 32, Duke versus Baylor. Duke will manhandle Baylor. They'll be fine. Liberty of Arizona. I don't want to. I mean, you get Arizona into the Sweet 16 against Duke with the rematch of the 2010 matchup. Remember Derek Williams?
Oh, gosh. Oh, electric, but we should have never drafted him.
That Sweet 16 game is kind of the reason why we drafted them number 2.
That was a mistake.
I don't know. Why is Liberty like... Oh, this is where it gets a little difficult. I don't know. I feel like Arizona's going to lose early. That's just how I feel. So give me Liberty or give me death. And then BYU against Wisconsin. It's a tough. Give me BYU. Give me BYU over Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And then Alabama over St. Mary's. We got more goofy picks here.
Okay.
And then Sweet 16, Duke versus Liberty. Liberty's bell gets rung by Duke, so they go to the Elite Eight. Duke does. And then Bama go to the Elite Eight. And then there you go, your first number 1 seed. Give me the Dukies to go to the Final Four out of the East.
Okay, I like it.
What do you?
Expect it. I like them, and I think I agree with most of those. I think once again, it doesn't matter which one of those teams is gonna win that 16th seed. I think for whoever wins them to be on the same team with the Duke Blue Devils. I mean, is going to be big for them. I mean, you talked about it; they're just loaded. Not only do they got Cooper Flag, Koft Knuppel, Tyrese Proctor, Sion James. I mean, the list goes on and on. They got 1, 2, 3 guys averaging at least 12 points a game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys averaging at least 5 points per game. They got size, they got speed, they athleticism, defense. It's going to be hard to beat this team. And being a UNC guy, it pains me. The UNC basketball fan, it pains me to admit this. But there is going to be a powerhouse like they usually are. Um, Mississippi State, Baylor. I don't, both these teams kind of, for lack of a better word, stumbled into the tournament. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In the last 8 games, Baylor lost 1. Mississippi State won 2. Like I said, it's kind of are always hard to guess these games, but give me Mississippi State that finds their backwards ass into the round of 32. Oregon and Liberty. Oregon and Liberty. The numbers say the Liberty is a little bit better of a defensive team and scoring team. But again, I think that's a case of just playing a little less competition. So give me the Oregon Ducks. Quack, quack.
Quack.
Arizona and Akron. This is going to be an interesting game for me. Akron again isn't as battle tested as Arizona is, but Akron got hot at the end of the season here, winning 6 of their last 8, and Arizona just kind of one loss. So bracket buster, I'm gonna have to take Akron in that one.
Rumor has nobody wants to play Akron in the non-conference is what I've heard from.
I don't know why. BYU, VCU, give me VCU. I think it's been a year or 2 without March Madness. I can't remember. I remember reading up about their coach. I think they got a pretty good coach, and I expect them to come out ready to fly. So they'll beat BYU, Wisconsin, Montana. I'm not even going to really look into this game. I don't think Montana's that great of a team.
I would love Montana to knock off Wisconsin.
I would love it too. I don't think it's going to happen. The Tommies beat Montana. If the Tommies beat Montana this year, Wisconsin definitely isn't. They're definitely not going to lose to Montana. Then St. Mary's Vanderbilt. I actually like Vando in this game. Actually, again,
Andy.
I think this is another one of those games that St. Mary's appears to be the better team, but I think that's by virtue of not being in as great of a conference versus Vanderbilt. I think they're going to come.
Come on, man! They beat Gonzaga twice this season.
St. Mary's did?
Yeah.
Cool. I don't think
it's cool.
Duke, Mississippi State. I already talked about Duke. I got them going to the Elite Eight. Oregon and Akron. This could be a very interesting game. again, on paper, Oregon is the better team. They got two guys that are essentially averaging 15 points a game. Akron, they're right up there too. But this is a very interesting game from the standpoint of Oregon. Again, better conference, more battle tested. But this Akron team, there's something about them that I just can't.
The Akron Zips.
Yeah, I can't get around it. Obviously, it doesn't happen, so I don't know what the line would be. I'm not taking Akron, but I think they'll give Oregon a scare. Oregon moves on to the Sweet 16. VCU and Wisconsin. I haven't had a. I'm gonna say this. I haven't had a lot of bracket busters yet. Every single year there is at least one bracket buster that goes to at least the Sweet 16, maybe the Elite Eight. No, this is not Jack shitting on the Badgers because I'm a Gopher fan. I think VCU takes down Wisconsin to go to the Sweet 16 for the first time since their Cinderella story back in, what was that, 09, maybe 2010?
Shaka Smart days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Early 2010s, maybe 12
Yeah.
or 11, something like that. And then the last one,
yeah.
Vanderbilt, Alabama.
Time
I
flies.
believe both these teams are in the ACC, if I'm not mistaken, right?
What's up?
Vanderbilt, Alabama, both at
Yep.
ACC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they played each other. I think Alabama is the better team. Vanderbilt does look to be like a good defensive team, but ultimately I like Alabama more. So Alabama to take on VCU, and then the Sweet 16. I think Oregon, very similar to the Akron Zips, have what it takes to give Duke a scare and have a tie game with them at the end of the game. I hate to admit it. I just think Duke just has too much talent. So Duke will move on to the Elite Eight for me. And then Alabama and VCU.
Wow.
And then Alabama, VCU. I'm taking Alabama.
Roll Tide.
Alabama, Duke heading into for a spot on the line in the Final Four. Alabama being the better offensive team, Duke being the better defensive team. Duke, surprisingly, I was just looking at this when I was making my first pick. Duke is only 3-2 against top 25 teams this year. They've only played 5 teams in the top 25. Now, I'm not saying that to knock them, but I didn't realize they, outside of the ACC, they haven't really played a tough schedule. So let's be mindful of that in my next couple picks here. I'm going to take Alabama.
What's that? You're going to take it? You're taking Bama?
Bama. I think Bama makes it back. I believe last year they were in the Final Four.
Yeah.
I know they got a little bit of a new crew as far as teammates and guys are concerned, but coaching, I believe, is still there.
Yeah.
They know what it takes. And I think they're going to shock the Blue Devils. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be too much of a shock because Alabama's been like number 1 and number 2, number 3 consistently throughout the season, but
2 or 3 years.
But no, that's.
I think it'll be a shock from the standpoint of everybody is anticipating the Blue Devils to win the entire thing. But I will have you know, and I don't know this for certain, I'm just talking like in a broad sense, the last, of the last 5 or 6 national champions, only 1, maybe 2 of them have been the consensus pick to go. Usually, more often than not, the team that everybody anticipates it winning usually isn't. And right now, Duke is a heavy favorite to win it. And UConn was a heavy favorite to win it last year, and they won it. So I'm inclined to think it's not going to be Duke this year.
Yeah. Let's see what happens.
So that's part of my thinking going into this. And then I can wrap us up here in the Midwest. What do you think about that?
Go for the Midwest. You want to go and then I go, or
yeah?
You want me to go?
You
go?
Yeah, I'll start. I'll start.
Yeah,
So I
sound
think
good.
LJ Cryer and Emmanuel Sharp, just way too much talent on that Houston team to lose to a 16 seed.
ISUE.
Yeah, what is that? I wrote it down.
Southern Indiana underrated
SIU
extraordinaires.
Edwardsville, Southern Indiana University, Edwardsville, maybe. You said underrated.
Southern Indiana underrated extraordinaires.
Gonzaga, Georgia, I think could be a interesting matchup. I hate to admit it, but I think it's an end of an era for Gonzaga. I don't necessarily think Georgia is a great um, seed or a great basketball program or team, but something I'm seeing as I'm going through my bracket here since 2018, 9 seeds are actually 16 and 8 against number 8 seed. So with that, give me Georgia. Clemson and McNeese. A lot of the stuff I was reading this morning, getting ready for this, said watch out for Clemson. Clemson could be sneaky good. So I'm going to take Clemson in that one. Purdue and High Point. I don't. High Point is actually, oh my gosh, they're averaging 4 more points per game and holding their opponents to 8 points less per game. This might be a closer game than I thought it was going to be. Let's see.
National, or no, Purdue won the national title last year.
Purdue kind of stumbled into the tournament, losing what is that?
Zach Edey.
That was their last 6. Zach Edey's not there anymore.
No.
What? I'm doing it. Give me a High Point in this one.
Yeah, am I crazy? I thought Purdue won it last year. Did UConn beat Purdue in the championship? I am totally.
Purdue. I can't remember who they lost to, but Purdue lost in the Final Four. They didn't even make it to the championship game. I can't remember who they lost to. While I finish it up, you should look it up. But
Yeah,
I believe they lost in the Final Four. I don't know who to. I can't remember who to though. But then Illinois and Texas, I think Texas is going to beat Xavier. I think Texas is going to beat Xavier. But I think Illinois is going to prevail in that one. Kentucky and Troy. John Calipari is not there anymore, correct?
At Kentucky?
Yeah.
He's still there.
Is he?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I don't know. This is another interesting one. I think Kentucky didn't do great in their tournament. Troy did. They won it.
Troy's sneaky good too.
I think they are. I'm going to take Troy in that one to take on Illinois in the second round. UCLA and Utah State. What do you want to do, Jack? What do you want to do? Number 7 seeds have won 61.5% of the times. And that's what I'm going to do. I like UCLA over Utah State. Utah State's made it to a couple straight March Madness games, I believe. But
yes, they have.
I actually like them to be humble just a little bit. So UCLA. So then sets up the round of 32. Once again, I think Houston's just a great team. Georgia's not going to be able to do much to stop them. So give me Houston moving on to the Sweet 16. Clemson and High Point. I talked about it in the first. Round. Watch out for this Clemson team. I think they're going to be sneaky good. High Point is going to be riding a high after winning a game in the tournament. Make it close with Clemson, but I think ultimately Clemson's going to come out on top. I don't have another Cinderella story going on to round up my bracket in the Midwest. So give me Illinois over Troy, and then Tennessee and UCLA should be a very, very fun game. I think Tennessee's with Chaz Lehner and Zakai Ziegler has a little bit more offensive firepower.
Ziegler.
But I think Tennessee's just an overall better cohesive team. So give me Illinois. And then here we are already in the Elite Eight. Houston and Clemson. Houston and Clemson. Houston and Clemson. What do you want to do, Jack? Illinois and Tennessee. I think Tennessee is the better team than Illinois. I need a minute to think.
I was like, flip a coin.
Over Illinois for the Elite Eight. So then Houston and Clemson. Houston and Clemson. No, Dan, we cannot talk Rodgers to the Vikings.
Yes, I mean, I would love to at the end of this.
It will not happen. Thank you for bringing that
Once
up.
we wrap up the NCAA tournament bracket there, Dan, we can definitely touch on that for a second.
Houston, Clemson. Houston, Clemson, Houston, Clemson. You know, I'm a man that likes to take risks. I'm gonna take Clemson. Something tells me the more I think about the four number one seeds, and I think Houston may be.
You start to play mind. I know this is the thing about term. You start to play mind games with yourself, and it's just lock it in.
I got Clemson and Tennessee in the Elite Eight for a spot in the Final Four in San Antonio, but I'm going with a better all-around team. I got Tennessee and
the Vols,
two seeds in San Antonio.
Perfect. So yeah, UConn did beat Purdue in the national title game.
Oh, in the title game. Got it.
Yeah. Like, time flies, man. Yeah, for the Midwest, as far as Houston, Southern Indiana, underachievers, extraordinaires, I got Houston to win that one. Georgia, I do like Georgia over Gonzaga. I don't know. Shout out Anthony Edwards, former college for 1 year.
Yeah.
Clemson against McNeese State. You're right. Clemson they are sneaky good, and they do kind of scare me to go pretty far in the dance. So
and I think I remembered why. I think they started off the season not getting a ton of love because I think they started off kind of They either started off hot winning a couple games or they started off without some of their top players injuries. Then they got them later in the year and kind of hit that streak of, okay, this is what we're really going to be like.
They beat Duke. They beat North Carolina. For some reason, a notable result was a win at Penn State. I think Penn State's not great, but besides the point. Yeah, and then Purdue against High Point. That'll be a scary game for Purdue. Might be a little bit of a trap game, but I think Purdue will be all right. Illinois against Texas or Xavier, however you want to pronounce it. I like Illinois over either one of those guys. Kentucky against Troy State Trojans. For some reason, I feel like Kentucky is overseeded, and I like how you did pick Troy to pull off a monumental upset, even though the spread is about 11.5, it looks like. But give me Kentucky.
Ooh.
Give me Kentucky.
Okay.
I'll go with the Wildcats. And then UCLA against Utah State. UCLA, they are a good basketball team, but the Gophers did beat UCLA. And I feel like Utah State's going to watch some of that tape of how they knocked them out. And give me Utah State. Give me the Aggies.
Was that a close game for the Gophers?
Yeah, we won.
Was it like
a
6-point game?
Last second late.
Was at the end or something?
Yeah. So I actually watched one of the very few I watched and actually got excited for.
Okay.
But Tennessee against Wofford.
Wofford. I don't even know how you pronounce it.
Can we get a 15 over? Actually, just Wofford lost to Duke 86 to 35 to start the season.
You won't pick a 15 seed over
I would love to, but no, I can't risk it. So round of 32, Houston over Georgia. I think Houston is way too strong, and they're gonna make a strong charge to the dance, if not win it all. Clemson, Purdue. Give me Clemson. Illinois, Kentucky. Give me Kentucky. Yeah, give me Kentucky. Utah State against Tennessee. Give me Utah State.
Ooh, okay.
Give me Utah State.
Bracket buster.
A bracket buster. And then you got Houston. And then Kentucky's going to end Utah State's run. So to the Elite Eight. So for a ticket, for the last ticket to the Final Four, it will be punched by Kelvin Sampson and the Houston Cougars. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
There you have it. So why don't you finish us off? Final Four. Final Four.
Break it down.
Me?
You? Me? You?
You?
I can break it down. So
Let's see what you got.
In the South and the West
we're at this point.
Regions, we got a pair of 2 seeds. So Michigan State against St. John's.
Okay.
Give me St. John's in the final.
Okay.
Duke against Houston in probably one of the greatest college basketball games of all time. Final Four history. Give me Houston. Give me the Cougars.
Thank God. I thought you were going to take Cooper Flag.
Give me the Cougars.
Okay. I like it.
Do you want me to say national championship or wait till you?
Houston and St. John's. Who is cutting down the nets, my friend?
Rick Pitino, R.J. Lewis, and the boys.
Okay.
St. John's Red Storm. Let's go.
So just to clarify, great. I love your picks. Just to clarify, Dan, if you're still
Submit
watching,
bracket.
Not the University of St. John's in college.
Not the one in Collegeville. Not the one in Collegeville.
Okay. Wow. I like it. I kind of forgot who you had in your Final Four. So for me, from the South region, Auburn taking on Florida from the West. And then in the other game for me, East, number 2 Alabama taking on Midwest's number 2 Tennessee. The first I kind of liked the idea of taking Tennessee last year because Tennessee last year was a number 2 seed. I really wanted to take them. Something in me didn't want to take them past the second round for some reason. Didn't want to take them past the second round, and I'm glad I didn't. They made a little farther than I picked them to, but they didn't even make it to the Final Four, thankfully. I think they're a little bit better of a team now. They are by and far the better defensive team. And I think when you come down to these last couple games, I know I've talked a lot about offense and high scoring. I think I speak for a lot of people that watch this every year that when you're playing these last couple games, defense is more at a premium and better to have than offense. So I'm going to flip the script what I did last year, and I'm going to take Tennessee. I think Tennessee is going to make it to the final dance. And then in the other game, Auburn and Florida, this will be a fun one for the ages. But ultimately, there is one team between these two teams that is a better offensive team, better defensive team, better conference record, better against top 25 teams. And I think they already beat them this year. Florida Gators will play for a national championship this year. And Charles Barkley, if you ever find this, you can suck it.
Florida Gators, all right.
Gators and Tennessee Volunteers for the whole enchilada, as they say. This was tough. This was tough for me. Two teams that are kind of familiar with each other. I'm just going to go with it. The Florida Gators are going to cut down the nets this year. I don't know what it is, but reading and researching and all that fun stuff for you guys in and out for the podcast for tonight, there is something about this Walter Clayton Jr. that I can't pass.
He's a stud. Running for the Player of the Year.
Gators all the way. Danny said the best. I love it. So awesome. So then, yes, we talked about this a little bit before the podcast. So right now, for those live, you won't be able to see this. We don't have the tech or the producer yet. But for those watching the next day or later in the week, we're going to show an overlay right now of Sam's bracket. And yeah, just take us. I don't know. You don't need to spend too much time, but a couple minutes. What you think of your bracket, how you think it's going to go, that kind of stuff. So here's Sam's bracket.
What's up? We're doing. You're gonna see the whole the whole.
Yeah, we'll show an overlay, and yeah, what do you think of your brackets? How comfortable are you with your picks? I don't know.
Every year I'm always ecstatic. Like, yes, I have the perfect bracket. It is going to be the best every single season. I come in and ready to rock, and then your bracket is destroyed after the first slate of games. So, to be truthfully honest, that's just how the NCAA tournament works out. I will say I am confident in these picks, but it's the big dance. Anything can happen. But I am very strong with St. John's and Houston both like making deep runs into the tournament. Wouldn't surprise me if Houston is the national champion. But also Duke. You have still 7, 8, or 9 teams where you get the favorable matchups. Everybody's all ready to go every game. That who knows, this Final Four, they could just as easily be out by the second or Sweet 16. So that's just how the tournament goes. I can have all the basketball knowledge than anybody, and I can still be completely wrong. So, for example, with Arizona, I have Arizona losing early, but who knows? They might piss me off and decide to make that deep run like that I've always wanted them to do. But they always run into Wisconsin or Kansas or Illinois or anything like that to ruin their dance.
No, and 100%. And before we take down for the non-live viewers, before we take down your bracket and I'll go through mine, I think you hit on a huge point about March Madness, and it's a reason I can't emphasize whether you're a basketball fan or not, whether you like basketball fans or basketball at all or not. I urge you, go to CBS Sports, go to ESPN, make brackets every single year. There is, Warren Buffett and these guys have prizes for the perfect bracket. And I tell my mom, I tell my sister, and I tell my wife every single year that they all three need to make at least 2 brackets, because the chances of someone like them or somebody who doesn't know, and this isn't a knock on them, but the chances of somebody who doesn't know basketball that's picking blindly of getting a perfect bracket over than me is probably greater, because like what you just alluded to, you're overanalyzing these games. I'm overanalyzing these games. Like, the chances of somebody like us getting a perfect bracket is probably a lot less than somebody
it's fun. It gives you something to talk about other than the weather. Like,
seriously,
the NCAA tournament is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
But yeah, so before we
can't wait until we see your Tommies in the big dance in a year or two.
I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be fucking unreal, and I cannot wait.
Watch, Minnesota has a hell of a season, and they end up being like a number 3, and St. Thomas is a number 14. They play each other in the dance.
That would, oh my god, I would be at that game.
That's totally something the NCAA would do too.
I would be sitting courtside for that game. So yeah, we'll take Sam's bracket down now. We'll throw mine up. I think you brought up a lot of good points. I think as comfortable as I am with all of my picks, again, I think this is one of those years where there's a legitimate case for every number 1 seed to win the whole thing. There's a legitimate case for all of the number 2 seeds to win the thing. Looking at the 3 seeds, Kentucky, Texas
Iowa
Tech,
State,
Iowa State, Wisconsin. I mean, half of those teams there's a legitimate chance. And then on top of that, I think you have some of these teams, VCU, Akron, you have, I don't know, probably 10 of these double-digit teams that have legitimate chances because they got hot at the right time to bust some brackets. So that's what I love about March Madness too. It's a fun time of the year. Always especially love um, watching that first round. I have just goosebumps talking about this. I have vivid memories of being down in Florida for spring break with my brother and my dad. And we're getting down there on Thursday, Friday, and we're watching those first rounds. And something I will always share. Something I
I
always
so nerd out during the tournament.
what?
I absolutely nerd out during the tournament.
Oh, dude, so do I. So do I.
Like,
So much fun. Super confident.
I spent an entire spring break weekend when I was living in Arizona. I could have been anywhere else, but nope. My geek self was plopped on the couch watching every single game.
I love it.
Don't
So,
judge
yeah,
me.
Florida over Tennessee for the national championship here, and you had St. John's over Houston.
Over Houston.
That was over Houston. So,
Yeah.
um, awesome. Well, I originally thought we would just wrap up there, but
Danny had a
Mr.
question.
Danny Cashman, if you are still listening, we will take. Actually, this hasn't. I will admit.
Yeah.
We wanted to kind of stick around an hour and a half for this first one. We're not doing as bad as I thought we were. Why don't we take
Answer questions?
Yeah, why don't we take 10 to 12 minutes and give the people what they want.
Give the people what they want.
Then we talk about Rodgers to the Vikings. We can, Dan, and before I let you listen to Sam's take on this, we will not sign him. He is not going to come, and J.J. McCarthy will do just fine. Sam, over to you.
Well, Dan, if you've been watching our podcast the last few times, even going back to I think like September or October, and I was like, what if there's that scenario where Aaron Rodgers is a free agent?
I'm so mad at you. You put this shit in the universe.
What did they throw it into existence?
You put this shit in the universe before this 2024 season even started. And I told you to shut that shit down and talk about it again. But you just couldn't help yourself.
I couldn't help myself because it makes sense. It doesn't make sense, but it makes sense. So what we need to know is JJ McCarthy ready to go to be QB1? Like, is his knee fully repaired? Is he ready to go, or are we gonna have to wait till mini camps? And if he's not ready to go during mini camps, is that when they call Aaron Rodgers because he loves skipping the OTAs and all that stuff? Or because I don't know, he is honestly the best quarterback out there.
See, and that's part of the issue I have with the whole thing.
This is a guy that said he was going to play. So about 7 years ago, Aaron Rodgers said he wanted to play until he was 45.
Yep, no, I remember.
So he might have 4 more years left. So imagine if he's got superhuman, whatever the ayahuasca stuff that he takes, but he is a distraction. There has to be some type of,
and that is one of my 2 big points I have for this whole thing. Look, I am not, and I have been open and honest about this from the get-go. If you told me 3-4 years ago that Aaron Rodgers wanted to come here, I would have said, sign me the heck up. Let's do this.
Torn Achilles later.
Just going to point out a couple simple facts that I don't know if people understand this. He's old. I can't remember. Do you know when his birthday is about? Because I think he's going to come into this season as a 39-year-old.
No, he's 40. He's 41. No, he's 41.
Okay, so he's coming into this season as a 41-year-old.
I think he just turned 41.
He ruptured his Achilles heel a year and a half ago. Excuse me.
But he was ready to play that same season later on had they made the playoffs.
But those 2 things happened. And
December 2nd, so he'd be 42 in December.
Okay. But no, here's the thing too, and my brother-in-law Jeff made a good point. When has anybody ever played good for the Jets? I understand that. My big thing as
Vinny Testaverde in 1998.
But as an over analytical sport fan, Viking fan, Jack, my mind goes to this guy last year, and I've said it so many times I sound like a broken record. He had going into the season, he had Brees Hall, who was being talked about. Still is a good back, but was talked about as the top running back. Garrett Wilson, who Garrett Wilson is a wide receiver. You shut your mouth. An incredible offensive line and an incredible defense. And let me remind people, Dan included, Sam included, anybody else included.
Oh my gosh, what was that?
Sorry, I thought I muted my computer.
But it was like, ding, time's up. Aaron Rodgers is coming to the Vikings.
It definitely did not say that. But it's like, other than, and he was playing in a very weak AFC East division. He could have had 2 wins against the Bill, or he could have had 2 wins against the shitty Patriots. He could have had 2 wins against the Miami Dolphins. But then they had a favorable non-division schedule. And this guy with a great defense, a good offensive line, he's such a
their head coach was also fired by like week 6. So there was a lot going on in Rodgers' second season,
he had the team he wanted, and he still managed to win barely 5 games. And if you go back and look at those 5 games, 3 of them were decided by 5 points or less, which a lot of people would say, well, Jack, the Vikings lost a couple by not that many either. But if he's going to play like that last year, what's going to make me believe he's going to play better this year? And the last thing I will say before I hand it back over to you, it seems like from what I've been reading, it's split 50-50. And I think part of it is because Kevin O'Connell does not want him. I think other people in the organization want to give him a shot. But Kevin O'Connell's like, look, I trust JJ. I trust we will find a decent quarterback from here until the start of the season to back up JJ or start him if his knee isn't where it is when OTAs run around. But I think I trust Kevin O'Connell. So I will leave it at that. I don't think we're gonna get him. I don't want him here. It's not because I don't like him. I think he's a great quarterback. I started watching that show on him about Netflix. I think he's a good guy. I think the media's shown him in a bad light a little bit. But he's been a diva. And I don't think it would be good for our locker room. We have a really good group of guys that are coming back from last year and a really good group of guys that we brought in the offseason. Why would you want to ruin all that with a guy that's going to, if things aren't going his way, he's going to be asking for Devontae. He's going to be asking for all these guys. And
I don't see that. I don't see that. Because I remember when Brett Favre got here, he wasn't saying, give me these guys, give me these guys, give me these guys. He kind of was put into the role you're the court, which is the same type of deal.
The only reason I brought that up is because that's how he was with the Jets. He was like, I need Devontae, I need this guy. And they essentially got him essentially what he wanted.
Well, at the same token, if he doesn't tear his Achilles, what would the season have looked like last season? I don't think they would have been a 5 to 6 win. They were. It was new blood, new energy, everything. So they decided to run it back again, and it didn't work out. Robert Saleh got fired. All hell broke loose internally, where the Jets just imploded and they were absolutely garbage. And it wasn't all on Aaron Rodgers. With that being said, is Aaron Rodgers comfortable with being the backup is the question.
And I don't think he is.
And if not, then you go pick up Trey Lance or Tyler Heineke, and you also then draft Max Brosmer in the 6th round for backup quarterback.
We don't need that.
Sure we do.
I mean, yeah, and again, I'm not. I know I joke around with you, and I joke around with the fans and everybody. It's like I just don't think it's necessary. I don't think we need him. I understand people talking about, well, he wants to come here. Yeah, like if I think there are a lot of quarterbacks that are signed with other teams that if they knew we were interested with them, they would ask to be cut right away.
Because they're going to be like, well, look how JJ is going to feel. Well, the same token, I mean, sure, do the Vikings, if the Vikings are for sure to implement, because you said JJ wasn't going to be the starting quarterback to start the season. I said he would be.
Very well could.
So if he's not going to be the starting quarterback, then what are they doing? So are you going to give JJ another year to learn under a future Hall of Fame quarterback? Nope. Or are you just going to implement him with the things that we have and do it like they did with Dante Culpepper, who had not played the season before but was inserted into the starting role his second season, and then get to the NFC title game and lose 41 donut? We don't want that. We don't want that. But I don't know. So if Rodgers is here, that just means Super Bowl, homeboy.
Jesus Christ, no.
I don't know. It's a tough situation.
The only reason I'm not, yes, JJ will be our starter week 1 is because I'm not in the building and I don't know where his knee is. If we're basing this truly based off of is he ready, I think having a year to sit out because he was injured, he's got a young body. Like, I think mentally and emotionally, yes. I think
he looked good in preseason last year.
Exactly. I was going to say.
And he looked excellent in preseason.
No, exactly. And then you give him another OTA, you give him another training camp, you give him another preseason. He's going to look awesome. I just don't know where he's at physically. I've heard a lot of great things, but with me not being in the building and not getting the inside information that I would need to make an inference like that, I would say emotionally and mentally, yes, he is ready.
Question. I don't know so right now, which quarterback do you want to take you to the Super Bowl right now? JJ McCarthy or Aaron Rodgers?
JJ McCarthy, because I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to take us to the Super Bowl. I really don't. And I know there are so many people that are going to think I'm just saying that out of spite. And I truly feel that way. I really do. If he couldn't take a really talented Jets, I sound like a broken record.
Jets
Yeah, he had Devontae Adams. He had Valdez-Scantling. He had
Alan Lazard.
He had Garrett Wilson. He had Breece
Hall. But Breece Hall, yeah, fantasy-wise,
he had all these offensive weapons and a good offensive line, and he couldn't do dick. He didn't look good. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but he did not look like the Aaron Rodgers we know and have seen in the past. We haven't.
So somebody just texted me this. That was a rough ending. So Timberwolves must have shit the bed.
What? No way.
I thought they were like up 12.
Oh, no, they lost by 2 in OT.
Don't like that.
No.
Granted, Indiana's not a terrible team, but you have to beat those teams. You still have to beat them, but
you do.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's been real.
It's been real.
It's been a good one, Mr. Puppy. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for all the interactions. I think I can't see the final number, but we got a decent amount of viewers for the first live stream ever. So thank you for anybody and everybody that showed up and contributed. And again, first live stream of many, hopefully. Any last words before we sign off, good sir?
The mini weekend bracket challenge. So if people want to do sign up for the mini weekend bracket challenge. Jack's got some merch for any winners, blah blah blah. So, but yeah, let's enjoy the tournament. It's gonna be a fun time. So, but yeah, maybe you should do a stream of like you're watching the game as you go. Yeah. I forgot forgot what they call him. Chris Castellani says he does like a stream along or something watching. But yeah, so it's always fun.
Sidecast.
It's always fun. So hope to be on soon, and hopefully by the time Royce Lewis comes back, which I think it'll be another one of those, he won't be back until May type of deal. So, and we can discuss Twins baseball and that train wreck. They still have not sold the team. How about that?
Yeah, no, they haven't. But yeah, before we let you guys go, I know this has gone on a little bit longer. But just like Sam said, go over to ESPN.com, hover over fantasy, and click on men's bracket challenge. Click on groups, and you can type in the mini MINNY. Should be the only one that comes up. Select that, and you can create up to 2 brackets. Like I said, pending how many people we have in the group. At least the top 3 people, maybe 15, depending on how many people we get in the group, will receive some merch based off of where you finish in that. So go do that. Have some fun. Make a couple extra ones so you can be in the running for a perfect bracket. And until next time, Minnie.
Peace.
I actually didn't